After the death of Jesus, his followers scattered. They were ordinary men, fishermen, tax collectors, laborers. Yet within a generation, Christianity had spread across the Roman world. Almost all of them paid for it with their lives. This is the story of the apostles, where they traveled, what they preached, and how they died. Peter began as a fisherman on the Sea of Galilee. Impulsive, emotional, and outspoken, he was often the first to speak and the first to fail. He denied knowing Jesus 3 times, yet later became the primary leader of the early church in Jerusalem. Peter preached fearlessly despite repeated arrests. Eventually, he traveled to Rome during the reign of Nero, where he organized underground Christian communities. Tradition holds that Peter requested to be crucified upside down, believing himself unworthy to die in the same manner as Jesus. Peter's life shows transformation, from frightened disciple to courageous martyr. Andrew was Peter's brother and among the first followers of Jesus. After the resurrection, Andrew carried Christianity north into Greece and Asia Minor. Unlike Peter, Andrew avoided large cities, preferring small villages and remote regions. He emphasized humility and simplicity in his preaching. Andrew was arrested in Patras, Greece, and bound to an X-shaped cross. According to tradition, he continued teaching the crowd for 2 days before dying. James was part of Jesus' inner circle along with Peter and John. He preached primarily in Judea and possibly Spain before returning to Jerusalem. James became the first apostle executed for his faith, beheaded under orders from Herod Agrippa I. His death marked the beginning of organized persecution against Christians. John lived longer than any other apostle. Known as the disciple whom Jesus loved, John emphasized love, light, and spiritual rebirth in his teachings. He traveled through Asia Minor, establishing churches before being exiled to Patmos. There, tradition says he received the visions recorded in Revelation. John eventually returned to Ephesus and died peacefully in old age, the only apostle not martyred. Often remembered as Doubting Thomas, he became one of Christianity's most daring missionaries. Thomas traveled east through Persia and into India, founding Christian communities that still exist today. He emphasized direct spiritual experience over blind belief. Thomas was killed by spears near modern-day Chennai after angering local religious authorities. Matthew was a tax collector before following Jesus, a profession deeply despised by Jews. Afterward, he preached in Ethiopia, Persia, and possibly Egypt. Matthew focused on connecting Jesus' teachings with Jewish scripture, helping bridge Christianity into existing religious frameworks. Tradition says he was killed while preaching. Philip preached in Phrygia, modern Turkey, openly challenging pagan worship and temple idols. He performed healings and conversions that angered local authorities. Philip was arrested, tortured, and crucified upside down, continuing to pray for his executioners. Bartholomew traveled through Armenia, Arabia, and possibly India. He was known for confronting corrupt rulers and religious elites. According to ancient tradition, he was flayed alive before being beheaded, one of the most brutal deaths among the apostles. Simon had once belonged to a revolutionary Jewish movement opposed to Roman rule. After following Jesus, he redirected that passion into missionary work across Persia and Syria. He is traditionally said to have been executed for refusing to renounce his faith. Jude preached alongside Simon the Zealot. He emphasized mercy and spiritual perseverance. Both were reportedly executed together in Persia after converting large numbers of people. James the Lesser led the Jerusalem church after Jesus' death. He was highly respected, even among non-Christians. Religious leaders demanded he publicly deny Jesus. When he refused, he was thrown from the temple and beaten to death. Chosen to replace Judas, Matthias preached in Cappadocia and along the Caspian Sea. He died by stoning, remaining largely anonymous compared to the others, yet equally devoted. Paul was not one of the 12, but he shaped Christianity more than any other figure. Once a persecutor of Christians, Paul experienced a dramatic conversion and spent decades traveling the Roman world writing letters that became much of the New Testament. He was imprisoned multiple times before being beheaded in Rome. They weren't scholars, they weren't politicians, they weren't warriors. They were ordinary people who believed they had encountered something eternal. And they carried that belief across continents, knowing it would likely cost them their lives.